Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? You know, me being a big movie watcher, TV watcher, I was just thinking about Tim Bradley's very dramatic life when it comes to boxing, everything that he's going through now, and what he's going to continue to go through, right? Every different fight is like a new chapter in a movie to me. Everything that Tim Bradley is going through, it has the makings of a great fucking boxing movie. It really does. Extremely dramatic story. I mean, you just take from the beginning till today, right? When it comes to Tim Bradley, you know, he grew up in the rough side of Palm Springs in California. You know, he survived that shit. He wasn't the best amateur boxer. He turned pro. Then he worked as a waiter for quite some time. That's where he met the love of his life, got married, had kids. All of a sudden, while he's winning fights, he finally gets that title shot. All the amateur fights, all the training, all the pro fights led up to this moment. This is what Bradley was doing this for. So he travels overseas like Rocky Balboa did when he had to fight Ivan Drago to fight for the title. He wins the title. Now Tim Bradley is a world champion. All right? Now his life is starting to gradually change. Now remember, this is prize fighting. He's still not rich. You know, he has a couple extra dollars in his account, but he's still not rich. So what does Bradley do? Now his name is starting to be more recognized. Now he's fighting on the big networks, right? Now he's getting the big fights on HBO and Showtime. But see, in the movie, he's telling his family and he's telling his friends and everyone who listens, man, I want that big title shot. I want Manny Pacquiao. And he's telling everybody, I could beat him. I'm telling you, I could beat this dude. You know, he's easy to hit. He makes a lot of mistakes. I'm telling you guys, I could beat him. You know, outside of his family, you got a lot of people looking at him like sideways. You must be crazy. You got no shot against Manny Pacquiao. You'll get knocked out. You know, in probably the first couple rounds, you'll get knocked out, right? So he's like, no, man, I could beat this dude. I can beat this dude. All right. So, meanwhile, 2-3 years before the Pacquiao fight, Tim Bradley, he starts collecting titles. Now he's the unified junior welterweight champion. He's cleaned out the division, right? Now all of a sudden he finally gets that phone call. You got the Pacquiao fight. I can see all this playing out in a movie. Bradley is jumping up and down, celebrating with his family. Right away, Bradley goes from rags to riches just signing this fight. His life completely changes. Now he's got money. Now he's rich. Now he's starting to become the star and a rich star that he always wanted to be. Now, and everything that I've said leading up to this point of this story was pretty much the ordinary. But see, this is when the real drama starts in the movie. Is when he gets this Manny Pacquiao fight. All right, so let's fast forward. In the movie they're showing Tim Bradley training, they're showing Pacquiao training. You're hearing all the media and the fans talk about what they think about the fight. Fast forward to the fight, right? Now you already know it's going to be a real nice dramatic reenactment of the actual fight that takes place. Now at the end of the fight, against all odds, Tim Bradley shocks the world and he wins the fight, right? He so he wins the fight or whatever, and him and his father and trainer, they all crying and hugging. It's the greatest feeling in the world for Tim Bradley. Until this is once again when it starts to get real dramatic. All of a sudden, he gets the infamous interview. Now, we already know the way that an interview is supposed to traditionally go is the person who's doing the interview, he is supposed to ask all the questions. He's supposed to get as many answers out of the interviewee as he can, right? You understand something. A journalist, his job is not to interview himself and voice his own opinion, right? Because that right there will alter how a person will answer the questions. If you voice your opinion, then you answer the question. So Tim Bradley is expecting a traditional interview. He's expected to be asked questions and he's expected to answer the questions, right? But see, all of a sudden, Tim Bradley is in for a shock because this is not a traditional interview. This is an HBO interview, right? So Max Kellerman, he gets on the microphone, and realistically, and it almost sounds like Max Kellerman is interviewing himself and the fans rather than interviewing Tim Bradley. Soon as Max Kellerman gets the microphone, he says, well, let me go ahead and voice my opinion. I think you lost the fight. Matter of fact, me and my whole crew, we thought you lost the fight. So you listen to the fans. Then he starts to elicit boos from the fans. Fans, what do you think? You hear them boos? He damn near doing that Hulk Hogan shit, like putting his motherfucking hand, putting his finger to his ear, like I can't hear you, really trying to encourage people to boo even more. So now, Tim Bradley, remember, picture this all in the movie. Tim Bradley, his high is going down. And now all of a sudden, he realizes that things are about to really, really change because he won this fight. Okay? So he answers the questions as best as he can. Now, let's fast forward. Tim Bradley, he's going home, right? He goes home the very next day. The phone rings. The phone rings, right? And just like in almost every traditional 70s, 60s based true story black athlete movie, this almost happens in all of these movies, right? You either get a phone call, you either get a note, you get a whole bunch of mail sent to you or something, right? But in this movie, Tim Bradley's wife answers the phone the next day, right? And, as the camera zooms in on her face, you just see a dramatic look on her, like kind of like shock, and surprise, right? Just listening to what is being said on the other side of the phone. Tim Bradley, he's looking at his wife like, baby, what's going on, right? Let me see, who's on the phone? Tim Bradley grabs the phone, and there it is. He hears it. Racial death threats, right? Now the movie is getting serious. Now the movie is really fucking getting serious. So now all of a sudden, Tim Bradley, he realizes something serious is going down. Now all of a sudden, it's like Tim Bradley jumped into a time machine and he's reliving somewhat of a Jackie Robinson story. He is the most hated man in the sport of boxing, right? Tim Bradley turns on the TV, it gets even worse. Now he sees Jim Lampley on TV, on his TV show. This is a travesty. This is a robbery. And Tim Bradley should be ashamed of himself and this and that and all this kind of stuff. Understand something. Tim Bradley is sitting over here like, man, I did nothing wrong. All I did was went in there and fought my heart out, right? Now, realistically, the only people who should be blamed if the fans are mad are the judges. There's no reason Tim Bradley should get any backlash. He went in there and he did his job. His job is to go in there and fight. His job is not to be a judge. He's not a referee. He is a fighter, right? Now, just like when what's his name, Brandon Rios, he got a gift decision over Richard Abril. There was no death threats. There was no racial death threats. There was none of this stuff when Brandon Rios got his gift decision. But with Tim Bradley, as always, the odds are always against him, which makes this movie so great, right? Because I know a lot of people are sitting over here, a lot of haters right now saying, fuck no, that wouldn't make a good movie. I hate Bradley. I can't stand him. I hate him and this and that, But that's the exact reason why this would make such a great movie, right? So now it gets to the point where, like I said, Tim Bradley, he's realizing the backlash is unbelievable. Like I said, he just watched Jim Lampley's show. He goes on the internet. He's hearing all this racial comments and I hate him and, he lost and this is bullshit and, we want a recount and all of this stuff he's hearing. And by Tim Bradley's, trainers on that mission, he said that Tim Bradley was really depressed. He's in his house. He's not going anywhere. Imagine this all going on in the movie, guys. Tim Bradley is thinking about quitting boxing, and it's really getting to him. He's really allowing this backlash to really break him down. So this is great when it comes to the drama for a movie, right? So Tim Bradley, he goes to this great state of post-traumatic stress, and it takes somebody, maybe in his family, maybe one of his friends, whoever, to come over after a couple of weeks, couple of months, and encourage him, get his spirits back up, and tell him, you can't let these motherfuckers win. This is what they want you to do. They want you to quit. They want you to suffer. They want you out the sport. You got to show them motherfuckers that ain't nothing gonna stop you. And this is just gonna make you stronger. And Bradley is like, you right, man. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? Letting these motherfucking haters get the best of me. I'm about to show them. I'm about to prove that I could do anything, and I'm going to keep winning. And they just going to have to take it. They going to have to see me win, and they going to have to suffer. And Tim Bradley is such a good-hearted person that he truly believed that maybe if he fought a certain way, he could win over these haters and et cetera, et cetera. But unfortunately, Tim Bradley did not understand that no matter what he did, they will always hate him. They will always hate him because he beat a hero. And unfortunately, he did not have the complexion for the protection, right? So we fast forward. And now Tim Bradley is on a mission to try to win over a bunch of fans that will never accept him, right? So now Tim Bradley is looking for the right opponent, okay? He gets Ruslan Provodnikov. And Tim Bradley says, fuck this. I'm going in there toe-to-toe. I'm going to slug it out. I'm going to knock this dude out. I'm going to show these people that, I'm not a runner. I'm not this. I'm not that. I want to show these people. I want to prove to them, right? So now Tim Bradley, he goes in there and he fights Provodnikov. This is a Rocky-type fight, right? I mean, everything that Tim Bradley did in that movie, this is how Rocky wins his fights, right? Getting hit with a million punches, getting staggered, falling down over and over, getting back up, and still winning the fight, right? This is what makes this movie so dramatic. Tim Bradley wins a very, very dramatic fight. And I want to rewind because I forgot to say something, right before this fight. One thing I found to be a very sad thing that Tim Bradley said was, I remember right before the Provodnikov fight, Tim Bradley was interviewed, of course, by HBO, and he said something. What did he say? He said, with all the hate, the backlash I got, he said it was almost better if I would have lost the fight to Manny Pacquiao. And I thought that was one of the saddest things he could have said, because to me, it suggested that HBO, Jim Lampley, and a lot of the haters, they were successful at trying to break this man down, right? But it had only lasted for a couple of months because, like I said, eventually Bradley, he got his spirits back up, and he went in there and he put on a fight of the year type performance, okay? So, all of this stuff is going on in this movie that I'm picturing right now. And now we fast forward to present day. And now there's even more drama for Tim Bradley. Now he's fighting, Marquez, the man who knocked out Pacquiao. Now it's this random drug testing problem. Like I said, I ain't going to go into all of that. But just think about all of this shit in a movie, man. This shit would make a good fucking movie. It would make a good fucking movie. Shit, I already got a couple names in my head of what the movie would be called. It could be called Against All Odds, The American Dream, The American Nightmare. Any of them titles will do as far as I'm concerned. And it's funny because as I'm thinking about all of this shit while I'm talking right now, I just thought about something. The fucking sequel could be with fucking Guillermo Rigondeaux. Another great story that starts from him defecting from Cuba to have a better life in America. So I'm running out of time, guys. Let me know what you think. I'm on to the next one, y'all.